Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Farzy Show, presented by our good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday after not such a great Christmas Eve. Thanks very much to the Eagles losing to the Cowboys, but I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas Day with the 76ers storming back from being down 14 points to beat the New York Knicks in New York on Christmas Day, thanks to a wonderful performance by Joel Embiid and James Harden. And I also really hope that you guys, and D'Anthony Melton, not too bad right there. Oh, and George Niang with 4 fourth quarter threes, not too shabby there either. But ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of people had their spirits dampened with the news of James Harden supposedly wanting out of Philadelphia. I saw that. You saw that. The tweet came up from Woj trying to ruin our holiday. And I thought to myself, what? Why now? It's not even the All-Star break yet. Tweet from Woj. ESPN sources All-Star guard James Harden seriously considering a return to the Houston Rockets in free agency this July if he decides against a new deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. So I think the only real news there is that why would he want to go back to the Rockets? All right, young talent, I get it. All right, fine. But I thought he hated Houston. Apparently still philanthropic work in Houston. Is there a Del Taco? Does he own a slew of Del Taco joints? I think he might. I'm not sure. Taco places? I don't know. But he likes Houston, the town, likes Houston, the people, very involved in the community. Good for him. I think we all know going into this season that he's a hired hand. He negotiated a short-term deal so that he could have the opportunity, if all went well this season, to cash in elsewhere. That didn't shock me even a little bit. And one of the other things that came out in that story, if you just go beyond the tweet and you actually read the story, this is one of the most interesting things that actually comes out in the story itself. Harden's working relationships, this is from Woj's story on ESPN.com, Harden's working relationships with Embiid and Coach Doc Rivers resemble something closer to a work in progress. The Sixers gave up significant assets to acquire Harden, and he's expected to remain a priority to re-sign on a new deal for a second consecutive summer. That's, of course, if he decides to opt in instead of opting out of his player option with the 76ers. Now, what that story initially talks about is the idea that his relationship with Daryl Morey is fantastic. And in contrast, it's a work in progress when talking about just his relationship with Joel Embiid and his relationship with Doc Rivers. So if it comes down to James Harden and Doc Rivers, I think I'm with everyone when I say, Doc, thanks for your time. See you later. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. A lot of people are going to make a lot of what his relationship is with James Harden, what James Harden's relationship is with Joel Embiid. People are going to maybe talk about Ben Simmons. People are going to talk about, is Joel Embiid hard to play with? Well, man, when I watch those guys in the fourth quarter and I see overall James Harden just dishing with assists, finding his big man, finding guys around the perimeter to knock down threes when he's covered. His blow-by rate looks a lot better than what it was last year when it was one of the worst in the league, when it dropped 20%. He looks a lot better as an individual. He looks healthy. He looks like he's in shape. Playing with Joel Embiid, who is playing at a very high level as well, MVP level, do we say? I would want to keep playing with that. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be about relationships that spoil this. Maybe if it comes down to the coach, but ultimately I think it's going to come down to this. And that is how the Sixers actually end up this season, whether or not it's an early exit or whether or not it's a championship run, a finals run, Eastern Conference. The aesthetics matter big time. That's why I think this story is a big fat nothing burger as of right now. Experiencing a deep playoff run in a rabid, hungry Philadelphia marketplace could positively impact his thinking. That's Harden's thinking, of course, just as the fallout of an early exit could too. Womp, womp. Thanks, Woj. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas, everyone. So I saw that story. And I thought, this is, interesting timing that it's right ahead of the Christmas Day game. So let's get a little bit more hype surrounding a Christmas Day game for the NBA, because why not? And second, okay, fine. You want to tell me that he and Embiid aren't best friends? Fine. You want to tell me that him and Doc Rivers aren't the best of buds either? Okay, fine. You want to tell me he wants to go back to Houston? That's a little surprising. But of course, at this state, when he hasn't signed a long-term deal and has a player option, of course, the way this season shakes out, especially with the money he gave up to go and have this season with the Sixers, if that's what you're telling me, that he could opt out at the end of this year, fine. That's not a surprise. Houston's a bit of a surprise. And if you're telling me that he's got some kind of awful relationship, and I know that's not what Woj is saying, but that's the way people are going to take it, that he can't play with Embiid. It's a work in progress to work with Embiid. It's a work in progress to play for Doc Rivers. If you're telling me that, then I don't think it's really that bad considering he took less money to stay here with Doc Rivers, knowing Doc Rivers was going to be back and knowing Joel Embiid was going to be back. And I also find it interesting he did all that after Joel Embiid came out and said he's not the Houston James Harden anymore. Could you imagine if, I don't know, maybe another former All-Star in Philadelphia, if that was said about him, Ben Simmons? Oh! Well, Ben Simmons really not playing at that All-Star level anymore. No, instead they just said the turning point of the game was that Game 7 against the Atlanta Hawks, and he didn't dunk the basketball. That's what he said. And Ben got it all in a tizzy. Imagine just saying he's not the player he used to be anymore. Ooh, that wouldn't be good. By the way, he's not the player he used to be anymore. That's just a statement of fact. But anyway, getting back to James Harden, I digress. I don't think this is anything comparable to the Ben Simmons situation. And I don't think when you talk about a work in progress with getting along with his head coach or getting along with his star teammate, I don't think there is anything worth reporting about a work in progress in their relationship when he turned down the amount of money he could have had either in free agency or opting into his player deal, opting into his player option to get that max money. He decided to go, I'll take $15 million off the top and you guys will be good to go. And let's go win a championship. So yes, it all depends on how this year shakes out. That's nothing new. Get to a point where you think you win a championship here in Philadelphia, he's going to stick around. Even if him and Joel Embiid aren't having sleepovers. Even if him and Doc Rivers aren't having afternoon tea together, I think they're going to be just fine. Even if they're not cracking open a bottle of James Harden wine, I think they'll just be fine and dandy. It all depends on how the team does, which is all we really give a damn about. And by the way, the feeling's mutual. And I don't like speaking for anybody. You guys, you fans, you guys have your own platforms now. You guys have your own Twitter accounts and Instagram. You guys can put your voice out there for what you want. But just speaking for me, the season and how it plays out also will dictate my emotions, my feeling about James Harden coming back to Philadelphia. Because if he goes to the playoffs and is terrible, then maybe it's time to start looking in another direction for someone else that can help this team get over the top. That's what I'm going to be looking at as well. So it's not just James Harden looking at this situation, go, maybe you're not, you should be here. Get bounced out in the first round, he's probably not back. Get bounced out in the first round, we probably as a fan base don't want him back. That's what I got out of the Woj story from that James Harden fella. And that's what I got out of the game yesterday, which was just fantastic. A little worrisome. In the early goings of that game. But the Sixers took control, started to take control in that third quarter, really took control in that fourth quarter. I mentioned George Niang with his 4 3-pointers in that fourth quarter. James Harden hitting 7 points in the span of, I believe, 2 minutes in the game from the end of the third quarter to the start of the fourth quarter. That's a good way to take control. James Harden hit a step back from just shy of the logo. Not too shabby in that game either. Joel Embiid working the board, working the paint last night, working the blocks. Yesterday afternoon, getting to the foul line yesterday as well. He was his dominant self. And when I think about the supporting roles of these guys, like if I think about Tobias Harris chipping in with a solid game yesterday, if I think about George Niang and what he did, D'Anthony Melton doing what he did, this team just seems like a really deep team. They are a really deep team. And they came out, they beat a Knicks team that have been playing some good basketball up until recently. It hit a little bit of a wall against the Raptors. It ruined I believe it was a 7-game winning streak that they had. And they were trying to bounce back with a win over the Sixers. Did not work out that way. Julius Randle, 35 points, just like Joel Embiid in the game. Sixers were able to withstand that. And overall, it just felt like this was going to be the Sixers game. There were little things that happened, whether it was James Harden stepped back from just in front of the logo. Shake Milton from beyond half court and for three right before the half. That was incredible. Joel Embiid in the first quarter had a ball that sat on the rim for it felt like an eternity that eventually trickled in through the hoop for 2 points. Nice little step back from him in the middle, fadeaway, in the paint. The little things was just like, oh, they just could bounce the Sixers' way in this one. And then they didn't bounce the Sixers' way. The Sixers took them and told them to go in their direction with a dominant performance, especially in that fourth quarter. That's what you want to see from the Sixers on a regular basis. Can't wait till they get Tyrese Maxey back and everything's clicking on all cylinders. But as of right now, seeing Joel Embiid and James Harden and Melton and Niang and all those guys work together to the point to get a huge win on Christmas Day is fantastic. And after the game, Joel Embiid stepping up to the microphone there on the court saying to the national audience, I feel like I should be playing every Christmas Day. You're damn right you should. Sixers are a premier team as long as Joel Embiid is at the helm, and obviously James Harden's going to have a big piece of that as well. I know there's a lot of people in Cowboy camp, in Cowboy land, that wanted a piece of me after that game. Let me just get this out of the way. After the Josh Sweat pick six and the Eagles went up 10-0, I just tweeted out, ha, 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 Cowboys suck. And then people were like, that didn't age well. Let me just say something. Tweeting the Cowboys suck is probably the most evergreen tweet you could ever put out there. It ages beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. So if you're going to tweet anything and you want it to have a long shelf life, tweet Cowboys suck. And the vast majority of the time, you're going to be right. So if the Eagles do, in fact, play the Cowboys in the playoffs and the Eagles host the Cowboys in the playoffs after they wrap up the number one seed when they beat the Saints on Sunday, if that's what goes down, if that's what happens, which it is, by the way, and you go on to face the Cowboys in the playoffs, I have every ounce of confidence that the Eagles will win that game. You have a quarterback with the best turnover differential in the NFL in Jalen Hurts taking on a quarterback with one of the worst turnover differentials in the entire NFL, worse since he came back from his injured thumb. I have a lot of confidence that the script will be flipped with the Eagles winning that game. And the Cowboys fans want to stick their chest out. They want to stick their chest out over this win. Eagles fans didn't even stick their chest out when it came to the Eagles beating the Cowboys. You know why? Because Cooper Rush was playing. And the Eagles should have won that game. And the Eagles have a higher standard than beating Cooper Rush. This is another loss they take on the chin. Hey, look, Cowboys, hey, credit where credit's due. 3rd and 30? Seriously? Seriously? T.Y. Hilton, seriously? Is the guy that beat you on the 3rd and 30? Hey, CeeDee Lamb had been beating the brakes up. He had 8 catches in the first half. CeeDee Lamb, I understand if he makes that play. T.Y. Hilton? He makes the play, 52 yards in the 3rd and 30, over the top Darius Slay, over the top to Josiah Scott. Are you serious? Reed Blankenship, I don't know where he was. I don't know if he was supposed to be over the top safety help, but here's one thing I do know. My first reaction to that play was, what the hell was that? What was that play call? Whatever that was. And then I watched the replay. As you would expect, and you noticed it in live as the play was happening. You noticed it live, Darius Slay and all the corners are pretty much off the line of scrimmage. And that's good because they're going to play press coverage. Not even Jonathan Gannon, not even the biggest Jonathan Gannon hater in the universe is going to say, well, it's probably going to be sticks. He's probably going to be the press coverage here. No, obviously that's not happening. Corners are off the line of scrimmage. Dak Prescott dropped back, bombed that ball down the field, and they got beat over the top on a 3rd and 30. I just want to jump to this right now, in case you haven't seen it yet. Darius Slay, after the game, was asked about what the hell happened on that play. Here's Darius Slay.
Man, it's just wild. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Coach made a call. People just got to do the job, really, man. You know, they good throw by Dak, good catch by him. But if everybody just do their job, that play would have been stopped easily. But that was mind-blowing. I'm still blown.
Were you in trail technique on that? Or does it look like cover 2 from
yeah, I mean, I don't want to point fingers and stuff like that, but yeah. There's the cover 2 call, We just got to get depth, stuff like that. We just got to do our job. That's basically what it is you know, just, yeah, we just got to do our job. That's how that play works. If we do our job, that's the play nutted, well, executed.
I honestly think if he was going to throw the coach under the bus, if he was going to throw defense coordinator Jonathan Gannon under the bus, he would have done it in a different way than what he just did. Instead, he hinted at more so throwing a teammate under the bus as opposed to the play caller in that instance. That definitely made me take my focus off Jonathan Gannon. And when you watch that play unfold, Josiah Scott comes into the frame. He actually ends up making the play. Let me make sure I got this. Yeah. Slays over the top, or Scott comes in. You don't have Avonte Maddox. Obviously, he's already injured at that point in the game. Reed Blankenship starts creeping into the corner. He's the safety. Don't know what his assignment was on that one. But the fact that you got beat over the top, regardless of play call, it seems like pretty common football there. Pretty basic football there. Why not have your safeties be the deepest man on the field? Why not do all you can to prevent that big play? Because it's the only play that's going to kill you in that particular instance. And instead, you run a go route with T.Y. Hilton, and he beats your defense. There are zero excuses there. Even if one guy blew his responsibility on that play, zero. How do you not know your responsibility on a 3rd and 30? So that one stung. That one stung just a wee bit. Josh Sweat had a sack on that play, the play previously that sets up the 3rd and 30. There's 8 minutes left in the game. The Eagles are winning 34-27, and Dak Prescott throws a bomb down the field. T.Y. Hilton changes the course of that game. They end up scoring a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb gets the touchdown, make it 34-34. Next thing you know, Gardner Minshew throws an interception. Lane Johnson goes down. Before that, and then Sanders fumbles the ball. Your 3rd and 4th turnovers of the game in the most crucial point in the game. The second Minshew interception, I thought it was a great play made by Brand on that. He just wrestled the ball away from Quez Watkins. The first interception, I thought it was a little underthrown. That one I would put more on Gardner. The second one I just thought was a good play made by the defensive back, and Quez has got to be able to reel that in. He didn't. Ball was a little too far ahead of him, but not too far ahead where he can't try to be the stronger guy and take that football away. So I put that one more so on Quez, and just a great play made by the defensive back in that situation. But good God, man. 4 turnovers for a team that doesn't turn the football over. If there is ever a time to make a point about how turnover battle is the biggest thing you could talk about and the biggest thing you need to win in a game other than the score, what leads to those scores, it's this Philadelphia Eagles season. There are 2 losses. They have 8 turnovers in those 2 losses. You're not going to win those games. Protecting the football, Miles Sanders not fumbling the football, you're going to win those games when you don't hand opportunities to the other team to score. It is embarrassing when you can't hold on to the football. Embarrassing. And the Eagles have not at all been anything close to an embarrassing team. But when they make mistakes, when they allow the ball to get poked out, when they are not on the same page as their quarterback, when they're not aggressive in going for a football, and they allow the football to get wrestled away, and whatever the hell happened with the attempted handoff to Boston Scott between him and Gardner Minshew, it looked like Scott never had the ball in his hands, and it ends up going the other way. That is dreadful. That's not giving opportunities to the other team is an embarrassing thing because you ultimately look at yourself if you're a player. And you'll see Miles Sanders after this game. Here he is talking about that. And you can see how disappointed he is.
Bad situation. Fumbled at the wrong time. Take full responsibility. Nobody else's fault but mine.
Was it part of the exchange or was it just...
No, I had the ball clearly in my hands. Just got to hold on to the ball.
It looked like some of your teammates trying to console you after. I know that's a tough moment. What were they saying to you?
Keep my head up. We're still going to get a chance.
You guys had a chance to win that game. The turnovers were costly. How do you view that after a game like that?
You can't win a game with 4 turnovers. So it's as simple as that.
You can see how disappointed he is. Miles Sanders has been one of the best players on this team all season long. He had a really, really bad moment Really bad moment. I wish the Eagles were able to get that run game going a little bit more for themselves, especially with Miles Sanders being as hot as he was going into that game, and especially with only having Gardner Minshew and not your other running threat. And I thought, even though the Eagles offense did a hell of a job in this game, being able to go out there, have essentially a 27-point performance without Jalen Hurts, with Gardner Minshew making his first start since week 18 of last season, that's pretty impressive. That's a great job. But it does show you how much Jalen Hurts matters to this team, and it does show you why I do feel he's the MVP of the NFL and why most people think he's the MVP of the NFL. Now, there's going to be a big question as to whether or not he's going to play against the Saints here in Philadelphia this week, and we'll see what actually happens. When he was asked about it after the game, Nick Sirianni basically said, yeah, if he's ready to go, he'll go. It's not a matter of keeping him out just to be overly cautious. They want to lock up the number 1 seed. That's what they'd like to do. They want to lock up the number 1 seed. And if they're not able to do that, then they might have to roll them out there against the Giants. Team still fighting for their playoff lives after losing to the Vikings. They're playing for their playoff positioning and all that. So it's still an interesting case you have in the last 2 weeks of the season here, but the Eagles still have 2 games now to win one and clinch the number 1 spot in the NFC, which, of course, we're all rooting for here in Philadelphia. But they're absolutely going to need a guy like Miles Sanders to have his head on a swivel and be playing his best football of the season. It's going to be tough to do that without Jalen Hurts because the running threat that he presents obviously helps out your running game entirely. Not just the yards that Jalen Hurts is racking up, but it also helps guys have that extra second to wait, see what the quarterback's going to do at that mesh point of those RPOs, and see if whether or not Miles Sanders can get it going. Now, I have been the guy who has made it a point many, many times that the Eagles need more just basic run plays. You saw a lot of basic run plays in this game against the Cowboys. I'm not saying that's the only version of running that the Eagles need to do. That's not the only run game they need to establish. But when you are having a lot of instances of your quarterback going out there like he was against the Bears and getting hit, maybe dial up just a regular old run play here and there, not an RPO. But in total, with the way this game broke down, with what you saw from Miles Sanders in this game, first half, he had 7 rushing attempts for 31 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. And then as things started to change over and you look at the rest of this game, maybe you could argue in some instances they got a little pass happy. I wouldn't be one for that. 21 carries overall and just 65 yards, unfortunately, for Miles Sanders on the ground in this game. That's something that I think is a huge, huge blinking red arrow at the idea of Jalen Hurts not being in this game. Passing game was good for the most part. They were able to rack up yards. They were able to convert on a lot of third downs. That was great to see. But overall, man, you really saw the impact of the run game, how it was without Jalen Hurts back there as your starting quarterback. When Micah Parsons made the comments that he made about this team, is it the team or is it the system, or is it the system or is it Jalen Hurts? I think you saw in this game that Jalen Hurts is the guy that can make everything go. Especially because if you're able to run the ball in this game, you win this game. If your red zone efficiency was even better than what was in this game, you win this game. And also the other part of it, you're not turning the football over 4 times in this game with Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. So the Cowboys fans, they can drink it in. They can enjoy the smell of a victory and all that stuff, and enjoy Eagles fans, maybe crying in their Christmas morning cinnamon rolls. I don't know. That's what I had for Christmas morning. They were delicious. But if that's the way you're going to look at it, then fine. Enjoy yourself. It's football. You should enjoy yourself. But the Eagles, I thought, in a lot of instances, blew this game more than the Cowboys had an incredible game. I don't think the Eagles are going to get burnt for a 3rd and 30 again. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's not going to happen again. I'm also going to say there's not going to be another game out there where they turn the football over 4 times. And I also don't think there's going to be another instance out there where the Eagles and Miles Sanders is only averaging 3.1 yards per carry. Don't think that's going to be another instance of that happening this year, especially with the Eagles playing at home for the last 2 games of the season. Oh, and with winning 1 game, having home field advantage in the playoffs as well. Let me tell you about my man, Steven Singer. Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there in Philadelphia. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed all they had to offer at Steven Singer Jewelers when it comes to their amazing perfect price in the holiday season. Go to Steven Singer Jewelers, where they always have the perfect price online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. Let's get in the chat check. Just a couple of people here on this day after Christmas morning. Kevin, good morning. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate you. You're the man. PJ says good morning, Kev. So that's nice. Very nice of you. Thanks, guys. Wanted to get this one last clip in for you. Nick Sirianni, addressing the media after the game, was talking about where the team goes from here. Here's Nick Sirianni.
You don't think about that yet. You're gonna. We got to take these lumps that that they gave us and that we created ourselves, and and sit in them for a little bit. Because when you sit in them for a little bit and you identify what happened and what went wrong, that's how you get better. And that's what it's all we crave to do is just get better. We'll think about that. We'll think about the Saints after we fix the problems of this game. Because I know the Saints are a good team, but we got to fix the problems of this game. There's a process. There's steps. After you lose a game, after you win a game, the steps are get in there, watch the tape, figure it out, what went wrong, coaching, playing, fix it, and then move on. And so that's what we'll do. We'll have to sit with this a little bit, but the main goal is we get better from it.
And we got a teaching moment is what we got. They always talk about ball security. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. We've known this all season long. When it comes to turnover differential, they've done a phenomenal job with it all year. When they turn the ball over, they lose games. It's what the Eagles do, unfortunately. And any team you turn the ball over against 4 times, especially a team as good as the Cowboys, and I recognize they're a good football team. I don't think they're as good as the Eagles. This game was not a testament as to who I would bet to win the next one. It's obviously the Eagles. But when I look at the turnover battle, that's a huge loss suffered by the Eagles in that statistical category. That is wildly important, especially when it comes to the fact that you never do it. The only time you do it is when you lose. That's no bueno. No bueno. Not good for anybody. One thing that did stick out to me from this game, obviously Lane Johnson, we'll see what happens. It's an ab injury. See how much time he's going to miss. Avonte Maddox, we'll see what happens with him. He was in a boot after the game. Eagles were able to survive without him in the lineup for 5 games. Man, you saw a big drop in play when he left the game. He came out like his hair was on fire in that game. We would all have loved to have seen him be able to wrap up Dak Prescott and take him down on that 3rd and 5 play. I believe that came in the first quarter. Wasn't able to do it. He ended up making the completion. I think it was Schultz that ended up making the catch on that play, and he got the first down. But he had a great play in the backfield on Dak Prescott to break up a play. He was very aggressive. He was in the backfield. He was playing safety position, coming down, playing tough. But, man, when he was out of that game, you could really tell the difference. His presence was greatly missed in this game. I'm hoping it's nothing serious with him, but Lane Johnson, still got my fingers crossed that the Eagles are going to be without 2 of their better players as the season goes on. And I might say Avonte Maddox and nickel corner. If you watch Sky Drive that we did with Avonte Maddox some months ago, we talked about that nickel position becoming so much more important in this pass-happy NFL, that when you're seeing the amount of pass plays just jump in the NFL, and you're seeing the running back position essentially devalued, of course, the nickel corner position is going to become even more important. And I don't think there's too many better nickel corners in the entire NFL than Avonte Maddox, especially when you're talking about versatility from this guy. In a pinch, he could play on the outside. It wasn't his strong suit 2 years ago, but in a pinch, he could play on the outside. Plays great in the nickel corner position, and also could be more than a suitable safety if you need him to play that position, especially with how the Eagles have been using C.D. Deuce, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and also how the Eagles have used Avonte Maddox in the past. They play him at the line of scrimmage. They play him aggressive. How they played Malcolm Jenkins even. They use that position sometimes almost like that 4th linebacker in a 4-3 defense. And they've had a lot of success doing that. They won a Super Bowl with that type of mentality, having a versatile safety like they did in Malcolm Jenkins. Avonte Maddox can do a lot of those things, except, of course, his position is not safety. His position is nickel corner. But if you needed to play anything else, the man steps up. He's at least willing to play it, and he knows he's going to play that position to the best of his ability. He's going to play that position as hard-nosed as you could want a player to play. And, man, when he wasn't out there on the football field, no better example than the 3rd and 30. His presence was greatly missed in that game. So we'll see where we go from here when it comes to the Eagles stepping up and hopefully handling their business from this point on for the rest of the season, clinching home field advantage in the playoffs, and getting their quarterback back. When Nick Sirianni was asked about that 3rd and 30, by the way. I believe it was Zach Berman who asked him, what happened on that play. And Nick didn't really get into it. He just said they made a play, we got beat. They made a good play, we got beat. Made a great throw, we got beat. Didn't give the goods on who was supposed to come over, but here's what I know from watching that play. Darius Slay, without question, was waiting for over-the-top safety help of some sort. Whether that meant Reed Blankenship was supposed to be back in coverage, whether that meant Josiah Scott was supposed to be deep man on that play. If he was late to the party by about 3 steps, which is a lot. But yeah, I have a feeling with Jonathan Gannon addressing the media, most likely on Wednesday or Thursday, we'll get a little bit more of a look into that. I don't think he's going to name names in that situation, but I think he'll confirm that Slay was supposed to have over-the-top safety help. And Slay also thought this was interesting. After the game, people were tweeting him how he got burnt on that play. A lot of times, especially in 3rd and long, 4th and long situations, you'll see safeties 10 yards off the line. You'll see corners 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. You'll see them playing well off the line of scrimmage, 10, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage in those instances. And you'll see them kind of lag, trying to stay between their man and the quarterback, which is basic football here. But when you're looking at those long plays and you see a defensive back lagging, that generally means that they're not the number one option on that play. That means that they're not going to be the number one and only coverage on that play. I did think it was interesting that Slay was on Hilton in that situation and not maybe CeeDee Lamb. But when you see that play develop, you see Slay lag. You see him watching Dak Prescott. You don't see him go full tilt down the line of scrimmage, or down the sideline after T.Y. Hilton. You see him lag as if he was going to get help over the top. The help was not there. And that's how the play developed. I look forward to getting a little bit more information about that for 2 things. One, from Jonathan Gannon, see what information he gives us. And then I believe later today, I checked right before the show, it still wasn't up. Coach's film will be available as well. And I want to get another look at that play to see exactly what broke down, what happened with that play. So hopefully we get more information on that so we don't see that happen, or really any chance of that happening against the New Orleans Saints. Short show today, everybody. Appreciate you checking out those that did. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow, talk a little bit more about the Saints and the Eagles matchup. Also get into the 76ers going for 9 wins in a row when they take on the Washington Wizards in Washington coming up tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a phenomenal job as per usual. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. Hey, more of me later on today. I'll be on Fox 29 if you guys want to check that out as well with Mike Jarek and Alex. Maybe they're on vacation. Maybe they're still enjoying the holiday. Don't know. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. See ya.